edition of the League of Disruptors show. And oh my God, I want to finish off tonight with a fabulous ending. And there's no one any better to bring on about fabulous than Denise Mortimer. I mean, what can I say about this lady? I mean, she connected with me through Facebook, has been watching this show and said, look, it'd be great to come on board. And I've had a little bit of a look back into her bio and the stuff that she's doing. And believe me, here is someone that doesn't mince their words, but at the same time is striving to get rid of anything that's not fabulous in this world. Denise, welcome and good evening to the League of Disruptors show.
Hey, thank you for having me.
How are you?
I'm fabulous, as I should be.
We're going to be doing a counter, ladies and gents, on how many times we can say the word fabulous. I think we've said it like 4 times now already on the show tonight. So Denise, for our audiences who are not aware of who you are, it would be great for you to give a little bit of background on yourself, your journey to where you got to today and what you're doing.
Okay, so my journey through, I am a coach and I'm a speaker, and I help people connect with what's fantastic about them, because often they fail to recognize, and I'm kind of like a fabulousness whisperer. I can see it. I see it in them. My journey's been over the last 20 years, and it was when I recognized that I had control over my thoughts. I hadn't realized that before, and then I started recognizing. I was reading books and connecting with turn the clock back 20 years, and there weren't that many people practicing self-development in the UK. I'm from New York originally, but it was, by starting to read books and starting to go to the very few kind of seminars that were around. And then I learned NLP, and that just turned my world upside down. Are you familiar with NLP?
I am, yes. Yeah. Neuro-linguistic programming. I got it out in one go.
Yeah, completely turned my life around. And I've always had a natural inclination towards working with people in a behavior change capacity, and using my learning NLP and then learning some coaching skills brought everything together. And it's been the last few years when I've really taken ownership of it. I've always done it kind of under the radar for a long time, but I've just stepped into it in the last couple of years in a more proactive way, really recognizing that it would be rude of me to not share my skills and help people recognize what's great about them.
Sure, no, that's amazing in that respect. So kind of going back a little bit into this. I mean, I suppose when you were back in New York and stuff like this, what was it that, as a part of your journey, that got you through this and said, right, now's the time for me to actually start exploding this out and helping others and serving others? Did you have any sort of pivotal points in your earlier career that kind of has led you up towards what you're doing today?
I think it's been a bit of a slow drip, and I've been in the UK for 32 years. Yesterday was my first anniversary of my British citizenship. I waited 31 years to get my passport, but I've been here for a long time. So all my years in New York were my pre-self-development years. Like I wasn't aware that I could shift my mindset. I wouldn't even known the term mindset. So it was when I was in the UK, and like I said, it's been a drip approach over the years. It's been the things that I've learned, and then having conversations with people. And when I'm talking to them, their genius is like leaking out of them, and they can't see it. And I'm like, well, you could do this and you could do that. And they're like, oh, I never thought of that. And then I started realizing that how people put layers of limitations on top of themselves, and they think that sounds really exciting, but I don't think I can. And that's where the but comes in. They go, but I'm not smart enough, but I haven't got the resources, but I'm to this, but I'm not enough of that.
Yeah.
And over the years, some people, you have to take people as you meet them. Some people you literally have to shake them and go, come on, wake up, you can do this. And others you take a more softly approach. But those who are open to recognizing that there's more potential there, I just love facilitating that change. That I'm a great believer. Like, this is what I do well. Now, it's not a case of me being arrogant, owning what I do well. And for other people, it's the same thing. I think there's a misconception that if you are owning something that you do well, that there's an arrogance about it. And it's not at all arrogant. It's absolutely rude to not own that and to give your finest gift to the world, where you deliver it with passion and with heart. Because when you're living like that, other people get excited and recognize that they too have the potential to live like that. So I just like to, tease it out of people and get them to start owning it and to live into it. So, we can all be a little bit more functional in this world that's
dysfunctional. So dysfunctional.
Dysfunctional, yeah.
No, you're absolutely right. I think, for a long time, as long as I've known it, especially in the, working within the personal development kind of arena and working with people in that respect, I found that everything's layered with doubt and competitiveness and comparison, and everyone's either got busy lives or in some cases you have people who have perhaps sacrificed part of their lives just for their family or their current future, where they haven't actually entertained or been able to engage into the things that they love most, because they have to go and get a salary and pay bills and raise children and stuff like this. So as long as time goes on, people start, like you say, layer upon layer a reason not to do it, which is your kind of but thing. So it's interesting as a part of your bio that you talk about the fact most people need to kind of identify their whys, but you're more interested in the excuses that they have, and sometimes these excuses can be very, very trivial. So with the experience that you have with the people that you work with, what is it? What's the process in terms of, does it take people, do you have to work with them for a period of time for them to start seeing it? Or is there some sort of instant, not gratification, but more of a recognition that, actually, this is something that I'm passionate about, and I shouldn't be making excuses about it. What do you find with people? I mean, is it a lot of negativity that you need to crush and push out before they can start thinking positive?
It's so dependent on the individual, and it's so dependent on how deeply ingrained their beliefs are. And so every single person is different. So some people have breakthroughs in a very short period of time, and other people are chronic and they just need consistent hand-holding to get them through the process, which is fine. It doesn't matter where you are. It just matters that you recognize that you can be that you can live in a different way, that you don't have to be enslaved in this box that you've put yourself in, that you might not even realize you've put yourself in, because they don't even, I say all the time, the fish doesn't notice the water. People don't realize they're swimming in this sea of limitations. And then they talk, and like I was saying, they leak all this information out. And so if they're open, if they're coming to me for coaching, I'll be curious about, the leakages they're giving out, and just question them about it. And then you can start to determine, on the basis of their answers, how many layers of limitations they've piled up. And that's basically how long I'll be coaching with them.
Yeah, each of your sessions is to remove these layer after layer.
Yes,
I mean, I love the metaphor that you used about fish in water, and the fact that we're all swimming in and I suppose this draws into the fact that we become unconscious to the leakages that we're bringing out here. We talk about this. You mentioned it earlier about the fact that people have these geniuses. And when you hear it, I mean, does it take obviously you've had experience in NLP, and from that sort of coaching perspective, that you're an avid and active listener, and what you are doing is you're listening for those kind of signals, which you then actually need to reflect back so people can see a mirror of what you see in this respect. So in this fact that it kind of seems like we're all kind of just swimming around in this kind of environment, unconscious to really what we really want and how we want it and why we want it in a particular way. And then what we do is our daily lives, our routines, our activities, our pressures, our challenges all become these, like you say, these layers, like a layer of onion that goes round and round and round, and you just got to keep peeling and peeling and peeling away. So tell me something. Do you find with the people when you're working with them that there is a heightened emotional break or leakage, shall we say, when they start to realise this whole finding your fabulous moment? So what I'm talking about here is you can have, like you said, there's different people. Some are instantaneous, some are chronic. But could you share an experience at all with about how emotional connectivity gets connected to this sort of exercise and process that people undertake?
As you were talking, I was thinking of a client that I had, and it was probably about 12 years ago. And this was a client that was I was really challenged working with, because the emotional content was. And perhaps I wasn't as skilled as a coach at the time either, because I struggled with this particular client. And she had issues that clearly came from her dad and the kind of messages he gave her in terms of her not being worthy. And it was so obvious, and it was like on a plate, and I was like, here, this is the source. This is the source of what's going on for you. And she just had this great feeling that she was going to betray her dad to even acknowledge that he could have played a role in her limiting herself in her choices in life, because she was struggling with relationships. But it was when we sort of tracked back, we could see where it came from, but she really didn't want to acknowledge it. And I gave up in the end in terms of, okay, well, perhaps she's just not ready to go there yet. But it was clear where it was coming from. So it can become so profound for people that they have to protect something. You know, they don't want to betray their parents. These things run so deep. They're so, you know, our beliefs are shaped by, you know, we're born into a family. The minute you're born, the beliefs start, yeah, because you're born boy or girl, so you have gender inflicted on you, and then you have like your family values, and then your religious values and your community values, and you become a product of that. And it's difficult to break out of that if you're choosing to break out of that. Not everyone wants to break out of that. It might be perfect for some, but those who are, they have a yearning, a fire burning inside that's saying, oh my God, I'm not a part of the tribe I thought I was part of, that there's something for me out there. And it's so challenging because the tribe you thought you belonged with might be saying, well, you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. And what they're then doing, they're placing their limitations about what's possible onto you, so that you don't make them uncomfortable. And so it's so much easier to stick with the tribe instead of own your greatness.
Yeah, no, I feel that, because parts of this could come down to, you know, how families can suppress purely. I mean, I take this down to two things: ignorance and arrogance, to a certain extent. Ignorance to sometimes that they've never understood or felt in that particular way, so they try and protect. They think they're protecting you from going out that way. And then the arrogant part of it is that one should not be more successful or happier than I am. So as a reason of this, that if I'm suffering, you have to suffer as well in that respect. And,
yes.
and in that respect, and we'll come into touch points of this. I just want to go and get some say some highs to some of the people that are online. Guys, if you're watching this live, make sure you get your questions in for Denise. Denise is here all about finding your fabulous. She is the fabulous finder. She can help you find your fabulous, break away all these layers and layers of smelly onions that you have that are holding you back. You know, we've had people coming in onto the show talking about happiness, and we're going to be talking to Denise a bit later on about her masters in happiness and what that's all about. But at the same time, there's this whole thing that we've picked up, that it's such a deep-rooted process that some people almost get to a stage where they believe that this could be a breaking point, and sometimes they've got to hold back. It's not just family, it could be life in general, past experiences which are holding people back. And we're going to be also touching point on things like fear and panic very, very soon. So let's get some hellos and WhatsApps out there. Mina Villani's on. Hey, nice to see you. Well, I can't see you, but you can see us. Janet's on as well, so she's saying good evening. Uttam's on as well. Uttam Miraz, he's saying hey Ketan and my fabulous Denise. It's Neil Alderson. Warren Ryan's joined us as well. We have Mark Duncan, I think, from Jamaica. So we've got some interesting people from different parts of the world joining in here. I think Tracy Jean Sandin is with us as well. So guys, if you're watching this and you want to ask Denise a question, please fire away. We're going to be on for at least another 40 odd minutes, so you've got a lot of Denise Mortimer time here. Make sure you're taking advantage of it. So Denise, let's get back to this. We've been talking about the fact that emotionally some people can become very overwhelmed with what they're finding. Have you had and this is the other part of the context of the work that you do, in pursuit of finding your fabulous, in pursuit of unearthing and eradicating these excuses, have you had instances and experiences of people that have actually found something completely new, something that they were completely oblivious and unconscious to, a new power source that can take them into a different direction from where they thought they were? For someone who could perhaps let's say had ambitions of being a singer and never ever got to do that, and then as a result of going through some of those processes, find out that actually they have a real artistic talent, and they've gone on to start painting and stuff like this. Do you find that there are kind of shifts in people's fabulous points when they're actually going through a process of discovery?
Oh, absolutely. And I'm I'm working with a client at the moment, and well, I'll be honest, we haven't even started formally coaching, and she messaged me last night, and I'm like, oh no, what's the problem? Is there going to be something wrong? And she, because her mind is in the right place, yeah. The universe is already opening up new opportunities to her. She's so ready. She's so ready that the shifts are already happening because she's open to what's possible out there. So ultimately,
can I just come into this, because it's very fascinating, very interesting in the fact that when someone's mind is, as we say, in the right place, we talk about a universe of opportunities starting to align themselves. Do you take this down to perception? Because all of a sudden, it's not just about clarity, but for me, I'm a believer that the way you see something, you produce a behavior, that behavior produces an attitude, that attitude drives your action. So your results can be changed 100% if you can change your perception 1%. So when you actually have someone who's almost into that mindset, do you think the natural part of this is that it's not that all of a sudden these opportunities are appearing, it's just that they're seeing them in a completely different way?
Without a doubt. And I'll put this in the context. I spent years coaching people who I wanted to change more than they wanted to change. I wanted it for them more than they wanted it for them. And one of my biggest lessons I'm learning in the last few months is to work with people who absolutely, they're ready for the change. Their pain is so great that they need to move to the next level. I've spent so much time invested in wanting so much for my clients to change, but they didn't want it enough, and I just kept going, but you can try this, and you can try this, and you can try this, and what about this, and worrying on their behalf. And now I'm working with people who I'm qualifying them in advance. I want to know how hungry they are, how deep their pain is, how much they want to change, and it's almost like it's like magic, because it's like my work here is done. when you're in the right frame of mind, it is then just having someone to hold your hand and take you, open you up to even more new ideas about what's possible. But it is completely down to your perception. And I've had a few clients a few months back who they were just going around this hamster wheel, and I've had to say sometimes my coaching is not clean and correct, because I have to go, shut up, shut up and just listen to what I'm telling you, and then you can tell me if I've got it wrong or right. But you keep going around this wheel, and I've been listening to it forever, and I don't want to take your money anymore, and I don't want to not get results with you anymore either.
Yeah.
So I'm qualifying people a lot better now, and it absolutely is down to your perception, their individual perception, and their readiness to make the change, because miracles occur literally overnight when the penny drops. And for myself, the penny has taken it's been a matrix slow motion drop. There are times in my life when I'm ready for a message, and suddenly, for instance, a number of years ago, I had a debt, and it felt like it was like the biggest debt in the world, and I was like, what am I going to do about it? And I got my head around T. Harv Eker's book, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, right?
Yeah.
Blew my mind. Overnight it changed, because my perception about money and recognizing that I could shift my mindset changed completely. My outcome changed completely. And by applying the principles in the book and recognizing that I had the power in my head, I gave myself 6 months to get out of the debt that I was in. And by taking control of it, I did it in 2 months. And it's absolutely about what's going on in your head. And your readiness for it.
Absolutely. And I think I'm going to touch some points on regards to the readiness, and which conforms into the behavior and attitude side of things very, very shortly. I just want to say we have a few more people now. Jose Farina's on, Pat McGuire from Las Vegas, Rachel Johnson's on saying hello as well. So guys, we have the amazing and fabulous Denise Mortimer on today. She's talking about, it's not just about your why, it's also about your but, the excuses. We've just been tapping into the whole thing about mindsets and perceptions and about the readiness. But I just want to come back to a little bit of what you were just talking about during that last bit, where you tend to try and filter the clients for readiness in this respect. And sometimes coaches and professionals within the personal development space can often be criticized for having extortionate fees, or having having this whole, well, you say you can do this, but how can I ever guarantee that I'm going to get what you say I'm going to get? Now, whilst we're in this game of results, one can never guarantee that you're going to be able to get someone to a certain stage. But I just want to focus about energy for a little while. You are someone that's actually had to work, or focused your work on changing people who don't even want to, who don't even realize they want to be changed. You are the person that's driving, saying, I want to see this change in you. I need to see this change in you. I can see this change in you. How much energy, physical energy, does it take, to really apply yourself to be, to work with just one client, let alone 10 or 20?
What I'm learning recently, I used to have clients that drained my energy because I was giving so much and I wasn't getting it. Not that I need anything in return, but I was worrying on their behalf. I'm now working with clients who are ready, and when I finish a coaching session and I know someone is ready to take action, I come away if I have a coaching session 10 o'clock at night, I come away from that so energized. I'm not ready for sleep at all. So my best clients leave me feeling more energized than depleted. It's the clients that are not ready for change that are depleting, because I've made the decision to not work with them anymore, but I was finding that they were draining my energy because I wanted it more than they did, and I invested a lot of time in worrying about that. And on the subject of fees, if I may, coaching fees and extortionate fees, for a long time I gave coaching away for either free or for very cheap rates, and that's what I got in return.
Yeah.
That was the amount of investment I was getting from my clients. This is another test of how committed are you to making this change. I'm absolutely sympathetic if people are in financial difficulties, and I'm open to having negotiations with them if I believe that they are ready for the change.
Yeah.
However, in most cases, the amount that you invest monetarily is also the amount you're going to invest emotionally, spiritually, physically in making that change.
Yeah.
If you've put that money up, you're going to make sure that you get your money's worth.
No, you're absolutely right. And when I bring this forward, it's just that over the last 5 years, we've seen a major explosion in the personal development coaching industry. The amount of people coming forward, being able to offer these services. I mean, we'll talk a little bit about ethics later on in terms of you seem to have this right channel of the fact that you're prepared to work with people that are prepared to invest in themselves as much as and they have this readiness about them. So at the end of the day, it doesn't matter whether it's £1 or £1 million. You could have Tony Robbins as your coach. He charges $1 million, to coach. But if you're not prepared to work with what Tony's providing or what you would be providing, then actually it's not a proper appropriation of the investment. You're not going to get the outputs, and then there seems to be this kind of culture where you think, well, that didn't work for me, you haven't done this, you haven't done that. That's the bit where what I love about what you do is you're not saying no to everyone. You're saying, come into my world, let me understand you, and let me see what I can do with you. It's a very heart-centered, very value-driven proposition, and the raw honesty of being able to say to someone, look, you're not ready and I can't take you on, is the power of no is just as powerful as the power of yes in that respect, which means that we can keep the balance of our sanity, because it is the lower end stuff. I don't believe that coaching should be given away for free whatsoever in that respect. There is in consultation and filtering, review, and maybe a little bit of advice perhaps to get people moving in that direction. But if the minute you go down in that and people start to compare and value you by price, what tends to happen is, like you say, the amount you invest monetary wise is probably about the same amount that you will do emotively and physically into your own personal development, if not lower, because they don't really value what's coming their way. And the reason I touch point on the energy thing is to just give insights to the fact that actually this game isn't like you're in a proverbial retail outlet where you have a product and you just hand it over. There's almost a responsibility on how that person's feeling, where their thoughts are, where they are positioned. You've got to think strategically about where you're going to take them, how you're going to get them to where they want to be. And if you are doing multiple sessions in a day, you're talking about switching your mind off from one client and switching your mind on to someone else. So there's a lot of capacity that comes into this kind of work, which can like you say, wane you down a little bit. But I do agree with you in the fact that when you hit the nail on the head and you can see the relationship and the coaching working, it's almost like someone's just plugged you in 240 volts and you've just had a power charge put up from there. So I'm just going to go and check and see if we've got any questions or anything like that. Uttam's doing a great job for you, by the way. He's trying to get as many people out into from around the world pushing on, so he's getting everyone to share. Please share this live. Denise Mortimer's on live. We want Hannah Dixon's on. Hannah's said hello mum, so David Daniels has come just passing through. Thanks for the invite, Uttam. Rahat Ahmed's here. Thanks, Uttam. So we've got a lot of people like Uttam seems like he's flying the Denise Mortimer flag.
Thank you, Uttam.
So
thank you, Uttam.
I want to touch a little bit into your Masters of Happiness. You told me a little bit off, before we went on the show about you have a Masters in Happiness. What is that, and how do you get one of those, and what do you do with that? More importantly, so what is a Masters of Happiness?
So I have a master's degree in something called Applied Positive Psychology, which in short is the Master's in Happiness. And I think it was about 2007 or around there, I was flicking through Psychology's magazine and I saw this advert in the back.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how the universe works in your favor when you make a decision to do something. I saw this and I thought, I want to do that. So I called the university and they said, it's £8,000. And I thought, I'm going to find £8,000. I want to go on this course. And I did it. I managed to find the money because, when you decide something, everything works in your favor. And if it's the right thing, it happens for you. So the master's in applied positive psychology just looks at the science behind happiness. Typical traditional psychology is focused on how people are unwell and all this sort of pathology behind how we can become unwell. Positive psychology looks at how people can flourish, what helps them thrive post-traumatic growth rather than post-traumatic stress, about flourishing, about getting into a flow state. You know, when you lose track of time and you forget to eat and you go, my God, where's the day gone to? When you have those moments like that. And, you know, it's an amazing thing that one of the workshops that I do frequently is called Release Your Inner Fabulousness. And I basically go through like a 13 checkpoint of how you can connect. And it's whether it's in an evidence-based situation and you're talking about positive emotions, or whether you're in a more woo-woo state and talking about raising your vibration, or whether you're talking about raising your genius, whatever you're raising, you're raising the bar a little bit. It comes down to some of the things that we all know. So this is evidence-based stuff. Practice gratitude. Get out in nature. Eat good food. Jose will like that. If you're still watching, he'll like that because he's a master of. You need to speak to Jose as well. He's amazing. Yeah. If you haven't spoken to him already, eat good food, move your body, hang out with people like intergenerationally, so that you don't just get stuck hanging around with 20-year-olds or 30-year-olds or 40-year-olds. What are some of the other things? Get out in nature. So these are all things. Random acts of kindness. These are things that are evidence-based for improving your level of happiness. Do you know that we all have a happiness set point? Are you aware of this?
A happiness set point. No, that sounds very interesting. Do tell us a little bit about that.
So you have a happiness set point, and I might be misquoting the evidence on this, but it's around 7 years old that it's basically set that no matter what happens to you in life, so many people go, oh, I want to win the lottery, yeah? And they think they're going to be happier if they win the lottery. But what happens is that after between 3 and 6 months, they acclimatize, they habituate to that, and they become the same person they were before they won the lottery. So they're not any happier, or they're not any nicer, or they're not any more generous, or whatever it is. They're not any more of it. They just have some more money. Alternatively, if something tragic happens, like you maybe lose use of your legs and you end up in a wheelchair, and prior to that you hadn't been in a wheelchair, you will the same thing will happen. Like in a 3 to 6 month period, you will habituate to that and go back to the same level of happiness. So it doesn't matter what happens in life, you come back to the same level of happiness. And when you do things like practice gratitude and hang out with people intergenerationally, get out in nature and appreciate the beauty of nature and breathe in that good air, and you're eating good food, and what are some of the other things? I've got my list of like 13 things that. These are the things that increase your happiness set point. Amazing. So
does it bring a form of elasticity to that happiness set point, or does it? Are you saying by engaging in those types of activities, it's pushing the set point further out, so you're not coming back into that regression of? Yes,
it raises your set point. It's like if you lose weight, or you lose or gain weight, you change the set point of your weight. You're doing the same thing with your happiness. You're resetting it to a higher level, so that your level of life satisfaction. So if you were to practice these things on a regular basis, and you did a level of happiness test, and then 3 months later or 6 months later you did it again after practicing all these things, you'd find that your level of life satisfaction increase. And anybody who practices gratitude, I don't know if you're a regular gratitude, do you practice on a regular basis?
I practice as much as I can, yes.
Yeah. And anyone who practices gratitude on a regular basis will tell you that the quality of life is much better. So, and the prescription for the actual prescription in terms of the evidence is 3 things a day, either before bed or first thing in the morning. 3 things a day. Take three acts of gratitude and call me in the morning. And those things. And there's also, I'll share with you as well, there's also in terms of the degree that I did,
Yeah.
we looked at two forms of happiness. We looked at something called hedonic happiness and eudaimonic happiness. I don't know if you've come across these terms before.
Yes.
Have you come across?
I've come
Yeah.
across them.
So hedonic happiness is for people who may not have come across this before, but hedonic happiness is like in the moment, like you're reading a great book, or you're dancing, or you're having some great food, or you're laughing your head off with the people you love. That's hedonic. That's hedonistic. It's in the moment. And then there's eudaimonic happiness, which is over a period of time. So it doesn't mean that every day is going to be like, yes, but it means that you've got a greater sense of purpose, that you are living a purposeful life. You are either, maybe you're doing charitable work, or you're living a mission rather than living in a moment. So you can have both types of happiness. It's not like one or the other. You can have both types, but it's recognizing that, because it's easy to feel if you're having a bad day, and especially if you go on social media and you're like, everyone else is having a great day, why am I not having a great day?
Yeah.
And to remind yourself that you're working for a greater mission. You can reassure yourself that I might not be flying, like swinging from the chandeliers today, but I have a greater mission, and it's contributing to my overall happiness rather than having to have this in the moment.
I mean, it's interesting you say that, because I think, where you've got the happiness in the moment, I think some of that sometimes breeds, into the whole sort of happiness over the longer term process. So it has its influences. But when you mention about the fact that, when you go onto something like a social media platform and you see other people happy, and you think, why is everyone else happy and I'm not? It's this whole, we have this natural innate trait within us to compare our happinesses to other people, because I think the minute you go on and start looking at someone else's happy and why I'm not, that's a comparison, isn't it? I mean,
Absolutely.
we don't really understand what that point in life is. We don't really understand where they've been to the point of journey to them reaching that happiness. I actually feel that there are people out there genuinely who, no matter what state of mind they're in, if they see someone happy on Facebook, they're actually happy for them in that respect. I think sometimes we also have this trait of, well, I'm going to show that I'm happy, but really I'm not, because you're happy and I'm not in this respect. Do you understand what I mean? I think this whole this whole comparison nature starts to come out, that well, if you're going to be happy, I've got to be happy, and if you're doing well, I've got to do well, and then the questions why come in, but and then the questions but come in. So that that's where these layers of excuses come through. So it doesn't mean you don't have to change your life. From what you're saying here, you don't have to change your life dramatically to get to that set point of happiness and push it beyond. Like you said, 3 or 4 simple acts within a day can keep that momentum rolling. It's a bit that consistency thing of the triggers and habits and rituals that people have. So I heard recently at Warren's event or through social media, Garan Jones was talking about the fact that he sends out 10 thank you messages every morning, and that's his gratefulness, for and I suppose it's these acts that you're undertaking that release this form of freedom, I guess. You feel a lot more freer when you're happy. I mean, Maria Carrion was on a couple of weeks back, and she specialises in this whole thing of happiness, and she goes that we need to go back to our inner child as much as we can, because that's when we're in that state, we're oblivious to negativity and we drive forward with much more clarity and conviction. So part of the work that you're doing when you're working with clients is you're not in a pursuit to push them into happiness, but you is it fair to say that you inject more of these habits and rituals for them to start practicing so they can move their happiness at point?
And it comes back to this idea of comparing. So if you get them where they're and it's tied in with neuroplasticity as well, about changing the neural pathways in your brain. So about comparing to other people. When they're practicing their own rituals, and when you're in a heartfelt place of gratitude, not just like, oh yeah, I'm really glad to be alive today, but when you're like, do you know what? I've got hot and cold running water and I just walked past a homeless man in the street, I've got a home to go to, and it's going to be warm when I get there. And when you feel that gratitude, when you absolutely feel it at a deep level, that's when it becomes transformational in your life. And this is about when I get people to recognize their greatness, it's part of not comparing to other people. Because when people go, people like me, but you know what? There's no one else like you.
Yes.
There's no one else like you. And it's for you to unearth and to own what's great about you, so that the rest of the world can own what's great about them. Because nobody else has tread this, even if you're an identical twin, no one else has tread the same exact path, interpreted the world in the very same way you've done it, and has the same skills and abilities that you've got. So when you own that you are superlative at being you, there's nothing to compare. And there's no reason that you can't reach out to other people in a heartfelt way and go, oh my God, I'm so glad that things are working out for you. Because if you are living your truth, then you can be happy for other people living their truth as well.
No, I mean, those powerful words there, Denise. There's such power. I've got a lot of stuff coming through, so I'm going to take some of these comments in. Guys, keep your comments coming on. We have Denise for another 15 minutes. Can you believe it? We've been on for almost 45 minutes. Like, where's the time go? Time flies when you're happy. Time flies when you're having fun. So Richard Dickey Vaughan's on as well. Ruth Frost is saying hi. Tracy Ferguson, first heard about positive psychology with Martin Seligman in London this year. Tracy Ferguson's a great message that you're sending out, Denise. Thank you. Jose is still here. He's saying thanks for the mention. Hannah Dixon, and you need to keep it upright. Your happiness set point can go down if you don't stay consistent. We'll talk about consistency in a second. So great point there, Hannah. Well done for that. Carmen Michael has joined us. Carmen unfortunately couldn't do her show earlier this week, but we're going to be getting Carmen on next week. Simon Barry's joined us. I'm going to try this. Agnieszka Loka. Sorry if Agnieszka. Sorry. Hi, Denise. I made it to see you. There you go. Hannah Dixon's also said this can be applied to businesses and where you are at in business. I see so many people getting down when they see other people's successes and they forget their own progress entirely. It's some amazing pearls of wisdom there. I think that whole thing about this is that, as I say, there is a facade of happiness, but deep down inner there's resentment because they're still comparing. They're still, and the whole problem is the minute you start comparing, you're actually living their happiness. You're actually living their dreams. You're actually living their aspirations, not yours, which means it makes it harder and harder and harder. And that's that downward spiral. Resentment brings that darkness back into people. Steve Haggerty's on, Jonathan Files on, Daniel Merricks has joined us as well. Utam Maraz is saying, do you have any morning rituals in place? Denise, do you have any morning? I do. Would you like to share these with us?
Yes, and this is part of, I'm doing an online course as well, and part of my course is that those who participate must set up a morning ritual. And I'm absolutely shocked at the amount of people who haven't got a morning ritual, because it's critical. It was a game changer. I started probably 6 or 7 months ago. Absolute game changer for me. So my morning ritual is gratitude. I do struggle some mornings because I'm thinking, oh, I can't do this, but I find it. I dig deep and I find it. I set my intentions for the day. I've got my goals. I've got my short-term, got my long-term goals. My intentions are always linked to my goals. There is rarely a day that I don't complete all of my intentions. They have to be bite-sized, digestible chunks that I can complete in the course of that day. I was finding it, I wanted to read every morning, but I was finding it difficult. So now I'm into audiobooks in a big way, and I have got Grant Cardone in my ear every morning, and I'm revisiting Secrets of the Millionaire Mind and Peter Voog, who's there's some amazing people out there. Mm-hmm. I've got these audio books in my head the whole entire time. When I'm up in the morning doing all my bits and pieces, this is in my ear. When I'm on the train going somewhere, it's in my ear. And then my nighttime ritual, I review what I've done. Have I got everything completed that I wanted to complete today? If I failed to complete it, what happened? Was it too big of a chunk, or did I have too much on my plate that day? When I go away, or when I fail to do my routine for whatever reason, maybe I'm running late or something's happened, I do find that the day is less focused and less on track. Absolutely. And also my people on my course, I've got 18 women on the course, 18 men and women on the course at the moment. And they're even saying that when they miss their rituals, they feel a little bit out of sorts. So the morning ritual, it doesn't matter. I don't think you can be prescriptive with people about how to do it. There are certain elements that you should have in there. Drink some warm lemon water, do some exercise. There's like a whole range of things you can add in or take out. But there are a few things that need to be in there, and they're absolutely life transforming. When you get your rituals in place, if you don't have them, you absolutely must have them.
So it's interesting you say this, because we've got a lot of people, Hannah's talking about Grant Cardone rocks, and Jose Farina saying perfect, we need to focus on our journeys 100%. Uttam saying morning rituals are paramount. The thing with rituals and habits is that I'm going to be a little bit disruptive here. It's my show and I can do that. But it's kind of a situation whereby if you take something like a New Year's resolution, the New Year, New Me phenomenon or fab that comes on, you got all these people that actually decide that they're going to do something new or they're going to try and change something. Usually it's going to the gym, trying to eat proper food, the right foods, or lose weight or something along those kind of arenas. What happens after 5 weeks is they tend to, all of them disappear. That they bought a whole annual subscription to the gym and they've been in 3 times. They're not getting, they haven't created this force of habit. I know that it's normally said that if you continue to do the same thing over and over again for a period of about 6 weeks, it becomes second nature to you. It becomes, part of your autonomy in where you go. How important is triggers in building habits and rituals? Because like you say, you're not a reader, so you convert it to audiobooks. There's a trigger, like when you wake up in the morning, you now got your gratitude, even though sometimes you're feeling like you can't do it. You dig deep, but then there are certain things that you do, like perhaps you walk towards the kitchen, that has a trigger. Then maybe you leave the house and you're in the fresh air, that's another trigger. How important are triggers when it comes to habits and rituals?
I'm not quite sure what you're saying. You're saying about to have a moment when it's sort of hitting you that you need to do something.
Yeah, so
I'm sorry, I'm not understanding the question.
No, it's probably me because I gab on so much.
I'm going to blame you.
Yeah,
because I like blaming. No, I'm joking.
No, that's good. Bring it on me. Bring it on. What it is that I believe that in order to form a habit, for a routine like your ritual, it needs to become something part of your life which is consistent.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely.
But in order to do that, there've got to be certain triggers. Now, in previous conversations, for example, I had Laura and Barry Ash on a couple of weeks ago. He's got a process called DIN, which is do it now. So rather than saying, okay, I'm going to get ready to go to the gym, he just goes, I'm going to the gym. In the sense of, because what he says, the minute you start to think about what you're going to do, you start questioning if you can do it, or you start to create an excuse. Whereas when I spoke to someone like Jamie Alderton very early on in our show series, Jamie talks about triggers. There are certain triggers that he has which enforces that habit. So, like you say, you do certain things. You plug in certain experts, you listen to certain books, you're doing particular activities, you're blocking through micro goaling to what you need to achieve. Are there triggers, do you feel, that bring those things forward, or is it, how have you made that a habit to then turn it into a ritual? That's, I guess, what I'm asking.
You got to set yourself up. You got to set yourself up for success. You need your toolkit. You need your journal next to your bed. You need to make a plan that you're not going to start on social media before you've done your morning routine. So it's about making a commitment to yourself and then just reinforcing that every single day that you need to do that. And I've also got a very cool app on my phone that reminds me. It's a little bit spooky, but it's called Mind Control, and I have all the things I want that I am becoming plugged into this mind control. So during the course of the day, it reminds me of the things that and do you know the spookiest thing? Guess what's happening? Everything on my mind control app. So it's super, super cool. And that's a trigger for me because There are moments in the day. I was speaking to a guy at the gym, and he's like, do you ever get down? And I said, yeah. And he goes, well, why should anyone listen to you? And I said, well, you come to the gym and you do one push-up and you're fit? And he said, no, you got to come all the time. I said, it's the same thing. This is micromanaging your mindset. So we'll go on to that if that's okay. Yeah, nice segue. It's about micromanaging it. It's about staying on it all the time. I don't, I get moments when my energy dips and my moods dip, and I don't want to be a part of anything, and I'm just like, I'm hating on the world. Yeah. But you got to remember that you have a choice along the way. You have a choice. You have an option that every decision you've got. I heard Garen Jones say at the weekend, you've got 55,000 thoughts going through your head. Yeah. Anything on any day. Yeah. Every thought you've got, you need to be thinking, is it taking me closer? You're making a decision, is it taking me closer? Am I getting warmer or am I getting colder towards what I want to achieve? And it's about being conscious, being in the moment, and being aware of the decisions that you're making. Are they taking you closer or further? And the more you make decisions that are consistent with where you want to be, the more you're going to build your confidence in yourself and your ability to achieve what you want to achieve. Because the more you fail to do what you achieve, you start eroding your own confidence in yourself. And they think, well, I couldn't do that, so I'm gonna, it ends up, seeping into other things as well. The more you are consistent and get warmer and warmer and warmer and hotter and hotter and hotter towards that goal until you've got it, you start building your muscle there. And this is where people give up. When you learn to walk, when you were a baby, you were learning to walk, you tripped over a few times, but you got it. You didn't think, oh man, this walking lark is not for me. I give up. I surrender. I'm not going to do this anymore. You got back up and you did it. And now you can feed yourself. And now you can dress yourself. And now you can do all the things. We grow up and we lose the capacity to do that. We somehow become like immune to thinking that we have the ability to change. So just because we've thought something for years and years and years, we still have the ability to unthink it. And the good news is that if you've mastered thinking in a negative way, you've mastered. So you can take that mastery and reapportion it in a direction you want to go in. Oh, I love this. So it's like, congratulations on mastering that. Now let's channel it in the way that you want to go. And this is where the neuroplasticity comes in. Your brain has the ability to build new pathways. You know how to go from naught to negative in a split second. You can go from naught to awesome in a split second, but it needs consistent, focused micromanaging. You have to be on it all the time. You have to be prepared. That's why I have that. People laugh at me. I got that app on my phone. Nice. The app reminds me.
I'm going to get it myself. I'm going to get it myself. Guys,
where I'm going.
Seriously, guys, we have got Denise Mortimer dropping absolute bombs today. She's dropping the bombs. Let me get these comments. The comments are flying in. Shane DeGarry's in. The Shane train is on. He's saying, what up? We've got Choo. Yeah, Shane DeGarry's talking about mindset first, then daily habits. Shane, they're talking about Uncle Grant Cardone. Grant Cardone's getting a lot of props today. I think I'm going to have to give him a call and tell him he's getting too many props. Jermaine Harris has just joined us. The power of choices, which I'm talking about here. Hannah Dixon, what software are you using for this split screen live, please? Oh, that's a bit of a secret. That's not a question. You're supposed to be asking Denise questions, not me.
Questions.
But that's proper good. And Janet Mahaffey Banks is saying, I love Denise. So you've got a lot of love going out here. We have got some serious bombs, and we've only got 5 minutes left, guys. 5 minutes. So make sure you're getting your questions in for Denise. Denise, we have talked about the holistic side of things. We've talked about happiness. We've talked about the mastery of happiness, and we've talked about neuroplasticity. You have got such a scientific approach to this, which it triggers. I just want to flip and see, what your understanding and your opinions are in regards to things like the chemical imbalances. Now, we've been talking a little bit about we've been talking about the mind, and we've been talking about micromanaging. I think micromanaging your mindset is it's revolutionary in this sense. I don't think enough people do it because, like you say, it's about 50 to 55,000 thoughts a day, which equates to about 2,083 an hour, which equates to roughly about 34-35 a minute. A lot of it goes into our subconscious base. These are triggered through memories, which then actually bring them to our sort of frontal state. But when we go through emotions like happiness, tiredness, overwhelmness, lack of confidence, and fear, there are chemical things happening within us. You know, we've got hormones, and we've got cortisones, I believe they are. You know, with what you do as well, what's your sort of understanding of how the chemicals are playing havoc with your body, with your heart rate, your breathing, and your palpitations, alongside with your mind? Because, you know, sometimes when I'm actually in meetings, or if I'm having strategy stuff, or I'm working with a client, you know, just like you, I can get really energized and excited and feel like invincible. That's my mind telling the chemicals in my body to do something. Do you believe there is I believe there is an innate connection between what's going on there and these chemicals and the juices that are flowing?
Of course, absolutely.
And how does that play with neuroplasticities? Because if you think about it, the word of plasticity, and the fact is it is expandable and it's contractible. So you can never stay in one state of happiness, or, you know, for a permanent period of time. It kind of goes in peaks and troughs. But what is it that people need to perhaps, I guess, do to sort of realize that they're actually at that set point of happiness? Because I think sometimes people are actually happy without even knowing they're happy. Do you have anything on that?
Sometimes it's just getting them to recognize that they're happy. In terms of chemical imbalance, now I worked in the NHS for a number of years, and I'm kind of an outlier in the NHS because I am a great believer that we medicalize too many things, and we don't need to medicalize them. I believe there's a point that, as a non-medical person, that I wouldn't want to speculate when that is, but there's a point where people have chemical imbalance and they may need drugs. But I think I'm going to go on a slightly different route here. But I think a lot of medical problems could be resolved through prescriptions, social prescriptions for. Take this journal and write 3 things of gratitude down. Beautiful. Carry out an act of kindness. Go for a 20-minute walk in nature. Go in and help an elderly. Go do something outside of yourself. Go and read a book. Read an inspired book. We're too quick to give medication for situations that don't require medication. They require, like, I don't believe that people are lazy. I don't believe people are messy. I believe people are uninspired. If they're lazy, it's because they're uninspired. When you're inspired, you're not lazy. You wouldn't have a messy home. You'd have a clean home. I think all these things, when you are on task, that everything is on task in your life. We need to have more medical prescription for all those happiness things I was telling you about, that they should be the first port of call before we start dispensing medication. Now, I don't know if I have the medical association after me.
No, you're absolutely fine.
We don't need to be dispensing medication. We need to be dispensing good advice and saving the NHS along the way as well.
Yeah, I mean,
we're spending a huge amount of money
on stuff that isn't working. On stuff that's simply not working. It's unnecessary.
It's unnecessary. Our society is so disabling in so many ways. It's, you know, pressures in so many ways, and you try and get into London on the train, and the commute is hideous, and you're trying to earn a living, and the price is going up here, and you know what? Don't watch the news. If you watch the news, you're misinformed. If you don't watch it, you're uninformed. I opt for uninformed. I'd rather be uninformed than misinformed. You listen to the news, toxic. No wonder people are going to the doctor.
I love it.
No wonder people are going to the doctor. We're making ourselves sick. The world is designed, it's making us sick.
Yeah.
And so when the likes of you and me and some of the people watching this, they've got a message to put out to the world, encouraging other people to own their greatness. This is your one chance at life. This is your one pop. People, you know, maybe your religion says you're going to come back in another life. I have no idea if that's true. This is your one pop at life. Yeah. This is your one chance. You don't need to live by the rules of engagement that other people have set up for you. You need to own it. You need to own it. You need to own what's great about you.
She's dropping bombs. She's dropping bombs. Oh my God. Do you know what? If I had another hour, we would be going into even more and more. But our time has come up. Just a few things to go. We've got just to answer your question, Hannah. I use OBS software. Next question is going to be how does that work? But I haven't got enough time to explain it to you here today. Denise. Before we wrap up, how can people connect with you? How can people find out how they can work with you? I'm sure not just the people that are watching this live, but on the pre-recorded. After the energy, the passion, the desire, and the aggression in terms of the frustration that you have with certain systems that you've just opened up, I'm sure there are going to be people that want to connect with you. How can they get in touch with you?
Please add me on Facebook, Denise Mortimer. I also have a group for women called Fearless Fabulous Females. They can join that. I am Skype Fabulous Finder. My website is denisemortimer.com. And I run an online course. I've got the next one starting in January. That's going to be a 4-week course. It's like an introduction to opening up your mind to new possibilities. And I do one-to-one coaching. So connect with me. I'm a Facebooker. That's my preferred social media. So connect with me on Facebook.
There you go. There's no excuse. If you haven't found your fabulous, get in touch with this woman, because she is going to drop the bombs and make sure you find your fabulous.
Thank you so much.
Denise, on behalf of Enterprise Lab and the League of Disruptors, we are privileged and honoured, and thank you again for taking the time out to come on the show. It's been really, really insightful. It's been energetic. It's been emotional. It's been fabulous. It's been absolutely fabulous. So, guys,
thank you so much for having me.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. So that wraps up today. That doesn't mean we've wrapped up for the week. We've still got one more show to come up. The amazing Carl Reed is going to be on tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock, and then we are then going into slip down mode next week with Haroon Rabbani, and then the amazing Samantha Skelly, hopefully either from Bali or we'll be Skyping her in from the US. But for now, my name's Kent McCrona. This is the League of Disruptors show, and I will see you again soon.